Welcome to Hazezon, Shaper of Sand. As far as our opening hand goes, we do have 3 lands. We've got Tireless Provisioner, which is going to give us some treasure tokens. And we've got, yeah, there's no reason to ship this one back. I like it. I mean, it's on the cusp of shipping it back if we wanted to be aggressive, especially since we don't have a white source. But with Cathartic, hopefully we can draw and discard. And then we've got Tireless Tracker. So yeah, I like this. So let's go and lead off with Taiga Uppercut, and then anything else. Let's go and pass the turn over to our opponent. But yes, welcome to some Hazezon. Hope you're excited to run through the desert on a horse with no name. So we're playing Hazezon, which I will cover in just a second. Let's see, run into Wrath of God. And we're going to go for Forest. And then what we're going to do is pass the turn. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll just go and pass the turn. So we're playing Hazezon. Desert Walk. You may play desert lands from your graveyard. Then whenever a desert enters the battlefield under your control, create 2, 1/1 red, green, and white Sand Warrior tokens. Our opponent's going to go for Time of Need, search your library for a legendary card, and put it into your hand. So we'll see what they reveal off of that. We will end up going for Cathartic because I'd like to hit a white source for our commander. That would be a lot of fun. So let's go Cathartic. We're going to draw and discard for 2. Discard up to 2 cards. We'll go and get rid of Wrath of God. And I think at this point what we'll probably end up doing is get rid of Secure the Waste. I like, there we go. Run into 2 white sources. I will take that. That is exactly what we want to see. So we can actually just end up going for Command Tower. I think I kind of like doing that. So let's go Command Tower. And yes, so we'll go Command Tower. And then we go for Tireless Provisioner. Yeah, let's do that. Because we could try to go for Hazezon. I doubt our opponent's going to have some spot removal over there. 5 color is a little tricky. I know they do have spot removal in there, but when you're building 5 colors, you don't have, you know, when we're playing like Naya, we have all of our path mana that we need and stuff like that. If they've got 5 color black removal and they don't have a black spell, whatever that may be, I'd rather get Tireless Provisioner out because we can go for Hazezon next turn and get the guaranteed Desert Warrior tokens once we make our land drop. So that is something to kind of keep in mind if you're thinking about building Hazezon, because our commander cares about getting a landfall that tags along with it. And so instead of just getting it down for 3 and then passing the turn, hoping it sticks around, it's always good to try to wait to get some extra tokens with it. You know, there may be times where you have to get down Hazezon, and that's perfectly fine. But if you can set it up to where you get the tokens alongside with it, that is always good. Let's go and go for that. All right, so we're going to tap down for red, green, and then tap down for white off of Command Tower. So that's going to be Hazezon entering the battlefield. Let's go for Dunes. And we're going to get ourselves some Sand Warrior tokens, get ourselves a treasure token, which we can't do anything for that, so we do want a treasure token. Get those Sand Warrior tokens onto the battlefield. And then let's go and push in for 3 with Tireless Provisioner. There we go. Anything else, we will pass it over to our opponent. Playing against Jodah, the Unifier. Legendary creatures you control get +X, where X is the number of legendary creatures you control. Then, whenever you cast a legendary spell from your hand, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a legendary non-land card with lesser mana value. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So we did cover both commanders. Give a quick shout out to our sponsors, TCG Player. If you go to bit.ly/JoltMTG, that will apply my affiliate link. That'll allow you to get some cards and help support the channel at the same time. So if you do use that link, much obliged. I certainly appreciate that. MTGOTraders and Patreon are the others. But if you're keeping score at home, it is officially free time. So let's have some fun. Yeah, let's get some stuff moving. So we've got, I think I kind of like setting this up. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We only have 1 land drop for the turn. And I guess what we can end up doing is we can go for Maha. I think that sounds pretty good. And then still get the land drop down for the turn, the desert. Yeah, let's do that. That sounds pretty good. So we're going to tap down for double white. We will end up having to take some, actually we don't have to, because we can go white off of the treasure token and then tap down Forest. That's going to give us Maha onto the battlefield. And let's go for Grasping Dunes. This is going to be a whole beautiful assortment of triggers. Let's get the Maha trigger on the stack first. Get those Sand Warrior tokens onto the battlefield. We're going to get the Warrior tokens onto... Oh, look at that. That is exactly what we want to see. We're going to create another treasure token. And then anything else. We're going to go to combat. So let's go and push in. So we've got 4, 8. It looks like we got 12 coming across. And so that should drop our opponent down pretty far. Drop it down to about... should be 25. Yeah, there we go. That's going to be 4 total commander damage. And then anything else pass the turn over to our opponent. So yes, it is officially free time. But yes, with Jodah, I haven't even thought about even throwing together a Jodah list yet. So if anybody out there is watching this video and if you've got a Jodah idea or something that you built and you're like, man, this is a lot of fun, I enjoy this, do hop in the comments on Jodah. I tend to stay away from 5-color commanders because there's just so many different things that you can do with 5-color commanders. And so I need to just pick a theme for Jodah. So if you've got a fun idea that you've been kicking around and you enjoy, or you got a deck list or something like that, hop in the comments, let me know. I need some sort of inspiration from Jodah to be like, yes, this is what we should be doing with Jodah. But I have an Excel sheet or a Google sheet that I keep up with for all of my builds, and I haven't even made a tab for Jodah yet. So we'll see what our opponents got out there. Maybe we can find some inspiration today. But we're going to be talking about Hazezon. That's the star of the show today, and this is a lot of fun. If you've never built a landfall deck, if you're coming to this video because you want to... Oh, Karn. There we go. Let's get Karn pop back up. Man, I hate exile spells when they happen. Well, it's like, wait, what just happened? Especially when I'm in commentary, it's always kind of rough. All right, so opponent's going to go for a Captain Sisay activation. Let's see what they've got. And then, but yeah, with Karn, they took an extra turn and they returned Hazezon back to the hand. So that does complicate us being able to go for double landfall with Scut Swarm and Tireless Tracker, but hey, that happens sometimes. Our opponent did search up Urza's Ruinous Blast, so exile all non-land permanents that aren't legendary. The opponent's going to go for that. Exile all non-land permanents that aren't legendary. I guess even if we crack, we have nothing else that we want to end up doing. We don't really want to sacrifice Dunes, I don't think, just yet. We're just fine with that. Alright, so that does leave Maha on the battlefield. And so, we're still good with that. So let's go and cross off this island that Savala's still in the hand. And then that got exiled, and then Urza's Blast got cast. So we're still in a good spot. We still got Hazezon. We don't have a land out of the graveyard. Well, actually, we could have sacked Grasping Dunes for that if we wanted to, but I think we're okay. And I think at this point we might... So we got Path to Exile on Captain Sisay, which that will stop the tutoring line that they're going to end up going for. I think at this point what we end up doing is... Yeah, let's tap down colorless, green. Get down Scut Swarm. Alright, so we have Scut Swarm on the battlefield. Let's drop in Scalding Tarn, because with Maha out there, that's going to allow us to slowly build up our board state. So there we go. Let's get the Scut Swarm trigger on the stack. And we can path on Captain Sisay, and that'll get rid of those activations. And then they grab a Black Source for Jodah, and then they get that repeated cost. But I think we can... I just don't like the Legendary Tutor every single turn. I think we need to stop that. So, alright, so we're going to go for Path to Exile on Captain Sisay. So let's go and tap down for Path. We're going to respect the tutor searches right now. And then we get rid of that. Get rid of Captain Sisay. We're still looking at one more land for the turn. So we're going to hold on to Scalding Tarn because we want to get that landfall trigger. So there we go. Let's get that popped up. Let's go and push in with Maha. That's going to be swinging across for 2. And then anything else, I think that's it. We will pass the turn to our opponent. So next turn we can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We can completely tap out for Hazezon and Tireless Tracker. We do have an ability to go for Hazezon and crack the desert and play it out of the graveyard if we want to, if we don't hit a land drop for the turn. So that's another thing that we can do. And that'll still end up kind of fueling Scut Swarm. So we'll kind of see what our opponent wants to, how they end up kind of assembling next turn. Let's go and get this Exile Zone closed out. And that's going to be Jodah on the battlefield. So there we go. So we'll see what else they got. That was the downside to Path on Sisay, is that they're just going to get Jodah. Now they get free spells because that turns them online for Swamp. But I'd rather have just random stuff happen with Jodah than just to have complete, you know, in this 5-color deck, they may end up having some sort of tutor line that they want to go for to assemble some sort of value board state. So I'd rather them tap out for Jodah and go for that. So unfortunately, it's kind of one of those, do we let them just get complete tutors, or do we just kind of let them get this random cascade effect off the top of the library? So a little bit of a downside. Let's go ahead and go for Scalding Tarn activation. We could try to set up a Tireless Tracker, but I like getting down some extra Scut Swarm onto the battlefield. Jodah is, and actually we'll go and grab Stomping Ground, have that come into play tap. Not going to pay 2. Get these extra triggers going. Yes, yes, yes. This is wonderful. Let's get these bugs going. My little girl calls bugs bugs. So she would be, Dad, bugs. There's bugs out there. But that's a good thing. Don't worry. And she's asleep right now, so she can't see the bugs. But one day I'll show her this video and she'll see the bugs. All right, so we run into grapple with the pass. And we've got a pretty good little swing. So we've got Desert. If we wanted to sacrifice that, we can. Unfortunately, we can't actually play that because we don't have a white source for that. And so we can put a -1 counter on Jodah and play that out of the graveyard to get a few extra creatures if we end up getting Hazezon onto the battlefield. Yeah, let's give that a shot. So let's get Hazezon down. That's going to be red, tap down for white, and a tap down for green. So we get Hazezon on the battlefield. We're going to go and put a... I guess we can just put a -1 counter on there if we want to. And then, yeah, so that'll be 1 onto Jodah. Yes, that is correct. So that goes, we put a -1 counter on there, it makes it a 5/5. We play that out of the graveyard. Oh, look at these triggers. All right, let's get Hazezon trigger on the stack. We'll get the Scut Swarm triggers. Oh, yes, this is beautiful. And then we're going to get some extra White Warrior. And imagine if we had like Anointed Procession or Parallel Lives out here. Ooh, that's some good. This is some good magic stuff right there. All right, so the Scut Swarm. And then we're going to have the Jodah trigger. And at this point, we can just kind of just start pushing in on this one. If we want to put an extra one on there, I think we may end up doing that. So let's go -1 counter on Jodah, because that's going to make it a 4/4, so that way we can at least swing in with Hazezon. And then if they want to make the trade, they certainly can. I think no, excuse me, we can't swing in with Hazezon just yet. So let's swing in with the entire crew. And we're going to hold back on Maha. So we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So there should be 12 coming across. That'll be a pretty big chunk of damage. They are sitting at 23. So they're going to block on the OG Scut Swarm. And then anything else, we're completely tapped out. We will pass the turn to our opponent. So we are threatening lethal next turn. So we'll see what they can assemble. We do have Grapple with the Past. That does allow us to mill 3 cards and return a creature back to the graveyard. But we don't. All we have is Scut Swarm in there, so we're actually good on that. And so next turn, what we're going to be trying to do is trying to close the game out. So we'll see if they have some sort of board wipe. But at least we're threatening lethal right now with all these out there. And that's one of the nice things about building a landfall deck, is that even if we don't have, let's see, that's an X spell, and you can cast it without paying its mana cost. Let me make sure. So they can cast that without paying its mana cost, but I don't think that does anything. I think that's just... Yeah, let me just see what that is. So that's going to be... Yeah, 0 down. Okay, yeah, so the X is going to be 0 on that one. So that's going to be Nissa Vastwood Seer coming down. They've got Sword of Hearth out there that they can equip on there. But yeah, with Landfall, you know, one of the nice things about building a Landfall deck is that the core strength of your deck comes from, you know, something like Scut Swarm out there, or Tireless Tracker, or getting treasure tokens out there, clue tokens. And so even if something does happen to Hazezon, once you get down Scut Swarm or something like Maha, you can just kind of build it up. And then have other threats out there, you know, commanders, multiple Commander Bs for the deck, Commander Cs for the deck. I mean, you end up with a lot of stuff out there. So let's see what our opponent's doing. They're dumping some stuff out. They got 2 cards in the hand. They got a flipped Nissa Vastwood Seer. And Sword of Hearth is going to be exile up to 1 target creature you own. So that's going to be an exile effect. So that's going to be Selvala. And that's going to be Sword of the Animist. Okay, so that's not too crazy for us. That'll be Sword of the Animist on the battlefield. And then Selvala. Yeah, and see, this is interesting with Jodah to me, because I never even thought about, like, Sword of the Animist being legendary, you know, different things like that. So it's an interesting way to take Jodah for sure. All right, it's going to be Selvala. And they've got 0 cards in hand. And we'll see what else they've got. But I think we're going to be able to push past on this, because they got 3. So, you know, that's just the 3 right there. It's going to be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Let's just make sure there's no random life gain on this one. So whenever they deal combat damage, exile to 1 creature you own, then put both cards onto the battlefield under your control. All right, so that's just protection. So I think we're going to be able to get it on this one. We'll see what else they've got. They're going to be able to swing it with Jodah. And that's going to be 7... Yeah, we can't block on this one because they have protection from our entire board state, green and white. And so that's going to be 7 total commander damage. And that is, let's see, so that's going to be exiling Selvala. And they end up with, yeah, no cards in hand. So this should be lethal. So we'll see what else they got out there. I don't know what they can do. Did they go for a Nissa activation just yet? I don't think so. So then go for the -2. All right, Poto's going to scoop it up on that one. So next turn, we're going to be able to swing in and get some combat damage going. So you can see nothing too crazy over here. Something happened to Hazezon. We got Scut Swarm down and got all the tokens out there. And then we just started making land drops. And then you just go for just sweet, awesome lines of play in Hazezon with the Grasping Dunes. Just being able to put a counter on something, sacrifice it, get some extra Sand Warrior tokens out there. This is beautiful. This is exactly what we're wanting to do in Commander. So anyway, if you enjoyed the video, hey, like and subscribe. Thanks, bye. Welcome to Hazezon, Shaper of Sand. As far as our opening hand goes, actually, yeah, I kind of like this. Yeah, because we've got yeah, let's keep on this one. I think we can make this work because we've got Catacombs, we got a fetch land, we've got Life from the Loam, and with Prismatic Omen, if we start making some land drops, we can get Valakut going. I think that kind of sounds like a fun thing to do. We'll see what we rip into. Normally we're trying to scape shift into Valakut, but yeah, let's go for it. Let's have some fun. All right, so let's go and lead off with the Catacombs. Let's go ahead and crack Catacombs. That way we can cover our commanders and be free to do what we want. So let's go and crack Catacombs, and we'll grab a Trisource. I think we should have a Trisource in here. Maybe I didn't get around to putting a Trisource in here. Let's just go ahead and drop in, so we're not losing any damage. We'll just go and take Stomping Ground. I had that come into play tap, not going to pay 2, and then anything else, pass it over to our opponent. Alright, so we got Monastery Swiftsphere swinging in. That's going to drop us down to 38. And then we do run into Scape Shift. So let's go ahead and drop in Desert. Let's go for Life from the Loam on Catacombs. And what we want to do on this is we're just going to start dredging, because we want to get another color source, and that way we can get down 3 mana for Hazezon. And then after that, we just keep dredging and finding more deserts out of the graveyard and keep making our land drops, and then try to set up a Valakut in a Prismatic Omen. So I do like that. So but yes, let's go and cover our commanders. So we're playing Hazezon. Desert Walk. You may play desert lands from your graveyard. Whenever a desert enters the battlefield under your control, create 2 1/1 red, green, and white Sand Warrior creature tokens. Playing its Mizzix, which we will cover in just a second. So we got Monastery Swiftspear swinging in for 2. That's going to knock us down to 36. There we go. Let's go and dredge Life from the Loam because we want lands in the graveyard. All right, so we hit no lands out of the graveyard. Let's drop in Catacombs. And what we're going to end up doing is cracking Catacombs because we just want to keep dredging. I'm going to be honest. It sounds like a pretty good game plan. So let's go ahead. We do have a red-green dual source. Let's go ahead and grab a Temple Garden. We'll have that come into play tap. Not going to pay 2. Let's go Life from the Loam on Catacombs. And then anything else, pass the turn to our opponent. So at least next turn, we've got Catacombs that we can play. That'll be Hazezon coming down. We don't have a desert in the graveyard in our hand to go for Hazezon, so we might kind of see what we want to do. We might actually end up setting up some Anointed Procession before we end up doing that. So let's kind of see what our opponent rolls out for the turn. Playing gets Mizzix of the Izmagnus. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell with mana value greater than the number of experience counters you have, you get an experience counter. Then instant and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast for each experience counter that you have. There we go. We made it. Okay, Swiftspear is going to get in for 1, drop us down to 34. And then we are, do we want to dredge Life from the Loam? Yeah, let's go for it. We're going to get a few extra lands out of the graveyard. Alright, so we do miss out on that, unfortunately. Let's go and drop in Catacombs. And I think we do end up setting up. I like doing some setting up. I think that sounds like a pretty good plan. So let's go Catacombs. And we'll grab ourselves I guess, a dual source. Maybe Savannah. I guess maybe Taiga Uppercut. And then we'll get Hazezon onto the battlefield. And, and actually, no, let's do some setting up, because we don't have a desert to go for that yet. Let's go for Anointed Procession. I was so worried about getting Taiga Uppercut in there that it's messed up my line of play. So we're going to get down Anointed Procession, and especially the opponent being shields down. So we'll get down Anointed Procession. And we're not looking at any sort of crazy storm action from our opponent just yet. So we'll see what they've got going on over there. And then once we get a desert out of the graveyard, or at least we get something along the lines of Winding Way, or maybe we draw into a desert, and then we'll be able to kind of amplify the tokens that we've got out there. So there we go. So we did cover both commanders. So give a quick shout out to our sponsors, TCG Player. If you go to bit.ly/JoltMTG, that will apply my affiliate link. That'll allow you to get some cards and help support the channel at the same time. So if you do use that link, much obliged. I certainly appreciate that. And we'll cover our sponsors in just a sec. Ooh, that's a good magic card right here for this deck. Okay, so we've got Life from the Loam. If we end up going for Life from the Loam, we can kind of dump out Prismatic Omen or end up going for Winding Way. And I guess we'll end up doing that because we kind of want to dredge next turn. So let's grab both of these lands, and we're going to tap down Desert. And it helps if we tap down for green on one of those cards. There we go. Okay, so we're going to go for Life from the Loam. We're going to bring back Catacombs to the hand and going to bring back Mountain. And let's go for Winding Way. It actually would not hurt to get a creature type. Or get a landfall creature. So let's go for Winding Way, actually. And then what we're going to do is we're going to name creature. Yeah, let's do creature. Let's see if we can't, because the odds are we're actually not going to hit a creature and they'll probably end up going to the graveyard because we have a ton of stuff out there. So let's choose creature. And, oh, we run into Lotus Cobra, so I'll take that. Let's drop in Mountain. And then anything else, I think what we'll do is we'll end up just passing the turn over to our opponent. So we're hoping, oh, there we do, excuse me, we do. We run into a desert out of the graveyard. We got dunes, and Field of the Dead is not a desert, but not going to lie, Field of the Dead is something that we definitely don't mind seeing out of the graveyard. And so this entire deck with Scape Shift and Valakut and Field of the Dead is set up to sacrifice a bunch of lands and get a bunch of zombie volcanoes on the battlefield, especially Prismatic Omen. So we'll see what we can do, see if we can't set up some stuff for next turn before our opponent starts to go off. So but yes, MTGOTraders, check them out if you want to play Commander online. Last but not least, I started a Patreon, so if you'd like to directly support cool content like this, there's a link down in the description below. But if you're keeping score at home in the desert and you're riding on a horse with no name, it is officially free time, so let's have some fun. There we go. But yes, as far as Hazezon goes, this is just a baseline Naya landfall deck. I did mention the Scape Shift Valakut line. Yeah, that's a lot of fun to do. And let's go and dredge so we can get, oh, there we go. We're starting to get some of the deserts into the bin. I'm enjoying that. Okay, so we end up going, is there any certain way we want to set this up? Because we are worried about some combat damage. I'd like to get down Hazezon. If we end up just going straight up Hazezon, then we can play a desert out of the graveyard and get some extra value. So let's give that a shot. Let's go for the counterspell test. I'm good with that, and it helps if we tap down for Naya colors. One day I'll remember that. So let's go red, let's go green, let's go white. Let's get Hazezon onto the battlefield. There we go. And we want to play a desert out of the graveyard. So let's end up going for Oasis. That way we can get some extra sand tokens on the battlefield. And see if this is, oh, look at that. We got the tokens out there. And then we're going to end up going for, and we could have sequenced that a little bit better with Lotus Cobra. But let's go and set up a Prismatic Omen. Because I think once we get down Prismatic Omen, that's going to turn all of our lands into mountains. We'll do a quick little mountain check for next turn. And we have nothing else to do, so we're simply just going to go and pass the turn over to our opponent. Oh, one thing to recommend with Hazezon. So we have a landfall commander that gets value whenever a desert enters the battlefield. One thing that you do want to do is, with a commander like this that cares about making a land drop, even though Hazezon does only cost 3, one thing you want to try to do is try to set it up to where you have 4 mana, and you can go for Hazezon to make a land drop, or like a desert drop to get some extra tokens out there. And there may be some times to where you have to just roll out Hazezon at 3 total mana and hope that it sticks around until next turn. But when you get it out at 3 mana, you have no protection. Then it goes to 5 mana, and it's going to be harder for you to set up a land drop and get a token down once that happens. So that is something to keep in mind, is that even though we may be able to get down Hazezon as soon as we get to 3 mana, it is worth it to at least get it down and have some sort of extra value. Like, we've got 4 Sand Warrior tokens, so if our opponent has Pong of Fire or something, we got some tokens that tagged along instead of just ending with the Beast token. So just something to kind of keep in mind. So, but yes, as far as the rest of the deck goes, we've got Prismatic Omen, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I think we're actually going to be online for Draw X cards. I think we're going to be online for Valakut. So once we have Prismatic Omen on the battlefield, that's going to turn all of our lands into basics. They're going to be all 5 basics, and with Valakut, that's going to count for every single type out there. All right, opponent's going to go for Chaos Warp on Hazezon, and I'm actually A-okay with that. So we run into Impact Tremor, so I will take that, because I think next turn we have the necessary deserts required with Valakut. And then we can just start making our Valakut land drops, and that's going to allow us to pop Mizzix, and we'll certainly be A-okay with that. So, ooh, and Azusa. Okay, so let's go Azusa. Yeah, I like this. So we're going to go Azusa, tap down for green, tap down for colorless. So we get down Azusa, so we're going to play 2 additional lands. So we're looking at 3 land drops right now. So we go for Life from the Loam, and what we can end up doing is we go... Yeah, if we drop in Lotus Cobra, yeah, we can actually do that. We can drop in Lotus Cobra, because I think we can set this up with Life from the Loam. Okay, all right, so we're going to have a pretty good turn. All right, so let's drop in Lotus Cobra. We still got our land drop to make. That's going to be 1 damage to our opponent. It's going to drop them down. Let's drop in Catacombs. And we'll add, actually no, we need to drop in Valakut, excuse me. So we missed out on a damage source. I'm sorry, that is a sequencing error on my part. So we're going to go ahead and add white to our mana pool. Let's drop in Valakut. Let's get Lotus Cobra on the trigger, and let's get Valakut trigger towards our opponent's commander. And the good thing about this is that they can't, you know, this is not something they can counter. This is something that just happens. It's a, you know, triggered ability. And so we're going to add some more white mana to our mana pool. And then once we crack this Catacombs, we'll be able to get some more, some life from the Loam action too. So let's go and crack Catacombs. We'll have another landfall enter the battlefield. And what we're going to do is we're just going to clean up our opponent's tokens out there. All right, so it's going to be Valakut trigger for Monastery Swift Spear. We're going to add that extra white mana to our mana pool. And it's going to be 3 damage right there. And I think what we're going to end up doing is, I think we're just going to drop in Cathar's Crusade, because once we get down, if we get some lands out of the graveyard next turn, I think I do like that. So there we go. All right, we could have sequenced that a little bit better with Valakut, but you got the main idea of what we're trying to do with Valakut and Prismatic Omen is once you get to that threshold, you're pretty much good to go. So let's go and push in with our Sand Warrior creature tokens. There we go, got the crew swinging in, and then anything else, pass it over to our opponent. But yes, this is... right here, this is the enchantment assortment that we want for Hazezon. We've got a token amplifier in Anointed Procession. We've got a Prismatic Omen style effect. Just up on a Cyclonic Rift. Let's see. They have been digging a bunch. Let's see. Alright, no, that's Mizzix. We've got Impact Tremors, which is going to give us extra damage for those warrior tokens. And then with Cathar's Crusade, if we can untap with Cathar's Crusade, you're going to see how nutty it can be. Once we get those tokens going, especially on those Sand Warrior tokens. Alright, so our opponent's going to scoop it up on that one. So yeah, we've got it next turn. So what's going to end up happening is we go for Hazezon. We get Hazezon onto the battlefield. We've got a couple different deserts out of the graveyard we can start playing. So we tap out for Hazezon next turn. That's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 total mana. So with Azusa, that's going to be pretty gnarly. We've got Dunes coming out of the graveyard. That's going to be some more Sand Warrior tokens. That'll be more Cathar's Crusade. That'll be more Impact Tremors. We got Life from the Loam, bringing back Field of the Dead, and bringing back another fetch land. So that's going to be another land entering the battlefield. That's going to be another landfall trigger. And then once we get Field of the Dead going, we'll start to get some more zombies out there. There's going to be double the zombies. We're at the exact spot that we want to be as far as assembling the value engine with Hazezon. So even when something like Hazezon gets sent back, if you've built a really good core landfall deck, one of the nice things about it is that you don't need your commander on the battlefield. We do want Hazezon out there. We're going to have a lot more fun with Hazezon out there, but at the end of the day, just getting Azusa down, making extra land drops, going for Prismatic Omen, Scape Shift, you know, whatever that may be, we have a beautiful value engine. So, but anyways, if you enjoyed the video, hey, like and subscribe. Thanks, bye.